first ever Collector Legion Pauper Decktech, and we've got Dash bringing us a green-red kind of madness. Yeah, and so tell us a little bit about the deck. Like, what's going on here?
First off, I can't really give credit to myself for this deck. This is it consists of, and those of you who might know what I'm talking about, we're talking about this is 0-drop madness creature, which is just madness, why the madness.
The Basking Rootwalla.
Basking Rootwalla.
When you discard it, you can just play it for free.
For free, yeah.
Because of the way madness works.
Because of this little 0 right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. 0. So he's like kind of the core of the set. Aside from him, he has the madness ability. Basically, it's just you get value out of discarding.
Okay.
And so it consists of basically 2 things, kind of 3 things. First, you have your discard outlets.
Okay.
Second,
yeah. So what are the discard outlets?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a few different things here. Mainly they're creatures. Starting with Wild Mongrel.
Okay.
He's the dog that goes the distance here. Changes colors. For back in the day, was a very good way to get away from terror, things like that.
Okay.
But nowadays, you just kind of make whatever color you want because that's kind of irrelevant.
And not only you discard a card, but not only does it get a color, but it gets pumped.
He gets pumped.
Yeah.
He gets bigger, which basically makes him a threat in combat, and just overall huge. A dog that can defeat giant worms basically and dragons.
Okay.
Which is cool. So he's wild and he's mongrel, and he gets down and dirty. So he's a discard outlet.
That's one.
Going back to kind of the vampire, it's a new guy. So Insolent Neonate.
Is it Shadows over Innistrad?
Shadows over Innistrad, yes.
Nice. A recent addition to the
so,
Pauper field.
Right. So for those of you who might be joining us from way back in the day, that yes, there are red vampires now. He really shines with his ability to discard a card and draw a card.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a free discard and draw a card. If you want to replace him, if you want Gaff later on in the game, or if you want to chump block and do that, or B, if you want to use it for the madness ability. So
what you're saying is you're able to turn 1 play a mountain, play the Insolent Neonate, and then say, I'm going to discard a card, sacrifice the Insolent Neonate, but hey, I'm going to discard Basking Rootwalla, and I get a 1/1 for free, and I get to draw a card. That seems pretty good. Seems pretty good.
That's value town right there.
Nice.
Turn 1, it's the ideal play. You can, even if you're on the draw, you can chump block with it and do it.
Okay.
You can also surprise with it because madness for 0 and the ability to pump with the Rootwalla goes the distance.
Nice. And it seems like we have like 2 other discard outlets. We have the Faithless Looting, the standard draw 2 cards then discard 2 with flashback, and then a Lightning Axe maybe for. You want maybe those couple extra discard outlets because right now what it looks like. What this is 14 discard outlets that feels about right.
14, yeah. Sometimes it seems like it might be too much or too little, so I think it's about right there. Lightning Axe is not really a burn per se, but it's more like just a creature removal.
Yeah. Okay.
Or just a way to sneak in a free Wild Mongrel or this big badass right here.
Yeah. Speaking of that badass, the Arrogant Wurm.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit. What are the benefits about some of these madnessing things? Like it's cool. You get some value. You get the Insolent Neonate replaces itself, but what we already talked about the Basking Rootwalla. What other cool stuff can you do with madness or discarding? What extra value do you get?
Well, you just get basically a huge body for a low cost, and discarding usually is a drawback, but in this case, it's almost a free spell.
Nice.
For cheap. And, of course, if you can do
and literally a free spell, I guess, in the instance of Basking Rootwalla.
Right. And then going back to Faithless Looting, if you can draw 2 and somehow discard 2 and madness both of those, it's almost like a small ancestral recall, per se. So,
there you go.
The value, So another thing you can do is madness. You're able to play sorceries and or creatures mid-combat. So kind of like instants, flash,
there you
whatever.
Go.
So come at me with your 3/3 whatever it is, 3/3 hill giant, let's say, and I could just go ahead and Arrogant Wurm, be arrogant, and throw this guy in play.
So we have a couple of those, the Madness cards. We've got the Madness Enablers. We didn't talk about the Bloodmad Vampire, but that's another one from Shadows over Innistrad. It's just a cheap Madness outlet, and it hits pretty hard. But we've got a couple of cards that are not Madness. They're not discard outlets. They're kind of just some what looks like filler, or maybe they're actually really sweet. We've got the Nimble Mongoose, the 1/1 Shroud. It's got Threshold. We've got Rancor, the enchantment, the +2/+0 and Trample, and Lightning Bolt. Yeah, tell us a little bit. Why are these ones included in a deck that's kind of seeming to run off this discard madness engine?
Okay, well let's start with Lightning Bolt because it's Lightning Bolt.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Yeah. All right, cool. Lightning Bolt's just good. You're playing red.
It's in there. It's a very fast deck, and you want to sometimes finish them off with 3 damage, or you want to get rid of a blocker and just swing for the kill.
Okay.
So that's that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
Lightning Bolt,
How about the Nimble Mongoose? Those seem a little weird.
A little off, yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have madness per se or a discard anything, but it does have Threshold. So as soon as you have 7 cards in your yard, and that's not exactly 7, that's 7 or more, he becomes a 3/3 Shroud. Basically, early in the game you play him, as a trump blocker. It doesn't do that much, but late in the game you drop him and you have more mana to do other things for a 3/3 body that cannot be targeted, messed with, or anything of the like.
Yeah.
And you could drop 2 of them if you want. If that. Also, they were kind of sitting there doing nothing, and all of a sudden, with the Insolent Neonate trigger and maybe a couple discards from a random Wild Mongrel or a cycle, all of a sudden you're staring at 2-3 creatures with power of 3 just coming at you, and you drop them early and it swings late.
That's pretty gross. I've personally been on the receiving end of this deck, and just you don't think that Nimble Mongoose, you're just like, oh, whatever, just like I'll block it or trade in combat. But later on in the game, when you're just looking at your hand and you look at a Lightning Bolt and you see Nimble Mongoose, just like, oh, well, this really sucks.
Right, because you look at him here, he doesn't really have lightning coming out of his eyes, but when he's turned sideways aiming your way, he does.
Oh, definitely. So what are the kind of the typical play patterns of the deck? Like how, are you super aggressive? Are you looking at kind of just like Wild Mongrel and Rancor them out in one turn? Or, how do you win? I mean, we can see Lightning Bolt and Fire Temper, that's good, but like, what does an average game kind of look like?
Well, you're always trying to outpace them and be aggro. So you're always trying to put your opponent on the back step. You don't really want to sit back and block with, Nimble Mongoose or anything, or play control with Lightning Axe. Yeah. It's basically there for a discard outlet and to get rid of a blocker, and sometimes even just having Wild Mongrel just pitch a card to get +1/+1 on not in combat or anything would be better than it. It is kind of a last resort pitch outlet, but a lot of times when you could hit a 5 toughness 5/5 blocker, it has value. So it's also an instant, which Faithless Looting is a sorcery, so you're restricted to Faithless's
on your turn.
Madness is on your turn.
Yeah.
So this one.
Also, I think the Lightning Axe, there's only a 2 because
it's
for the same reason Nimble Mongoose is good. Like there's not many big things in the format.
Right. There's not many big things, but I mean there still can be big things with enchantments and stuff, and also it might be overkill, but it could also be a very good 2-for-1 during combat. You get rid of a creature and throw in a worm, cheap, 4 mana total, and kill a creature block, and come swinging next turn, and it could be hell for your opponent.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I could see this deck also playing a much more mid-rangey kind of game. Like you can aggro someone out like Nimble Mongoose into Insolent Neonate into like Wild Mongrel and just like beat them down and finish off with Lightning Bolts. But like we said, Nimble Mongoose just like as a 3/3 and then in his Arrogant Wurm, that's just that body is huge. Yeah. And like Basking Rootwalla pumps.
Right. I mean, you'll see it plays a lot of 4-ofs, so it's very consistent late game. Also, this deck can push a lot of push a lot of pressure on real quick. And sometimes you want to get the trample through, but sometimes you just want to get madness value.
Looks like, you just want to value, like you could just value them out, like kind of that mid-rangey game. Yes. You don't necessarily need the Rancor, you just have a bunch of stuff, and opponent tries to 2-for-1 you, and you like sacrifice an Insolent Neonate and ends up turning into a 2-for-1 for you. Right. Which is pretty sweet.
2-for-1s. I mean,
exactly. Great.
I live off 2-for-1s. So, going.
So I guess this being Pauper and us trying to build our Pauper community, how much are we looking at for this deck?
Good question. I was about to get to that because I just checked my funds today. I'm dead broke, and that's why I'm playing Pauper. So you hear that change in my pocket? Well, you can't because I already spent it. But anyway, we're looking at Lightning Bolt being the higher end card of this you know, maybe $2. The modern one's a little bit more. You can go back, revise the white border. People think it's ugly, but it still does 3 damage.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly.
You know,
maybe it stings a little bit more because it's white border too.
And they probably think it's uglier when they're losing to one. So it's a little bit, you know. So go with the white border lightning bolt. Try to get them beat up. You know, you might be able to get one for $1.50 a set for $5, maybe low end. Another card that was a little bit higher end in this set, I think, was
the Rancors.
The Rancors, yeah. But they used to be high, and they're hovering around $1 or so.
A buck or two,
like, you know. All told, everything else is in the low end. You know, we're looking at the high end of $15, or low end of $10.
That's awesome.
Yeah, to destroy face for $10. I mean, you can't beat this, really.
Yeah, shoot, and I mean, really, you're not spending money on anything that isn't the most expensive card being Lightning Bolt that ports into every single format. I guess except standard.
Format. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Where if it could, it would, but you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
So would you recommend this for someone jumping into Pauper?
Oh yeah, this is a great jump-in deck. This is it's easy to use, it's fun, it's aggro. There's really not much thinking about it, and you get to smash face with dogs, mongooses, worms that look like not your typical worm, but they're, you know, mongooses.
There's a lizard.
Yeah.
And maybe the occasional vampire.
And vampires, which are awesome. You know.
Yeah.
So it's sweet. It's burn. It's creatures. It's fun. It's madness. It's just madness.
Yeah. Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for watching. We bringing you some more deck techs. This is just the first of many to come. The Collector Legion Pauper community. This is Mike, and this is Dash.
And we'll see you soon.